It's a beautiful program. I just can't get over all the wonderful insights that people have given, and their heart, and their, it's not been easy for me, you can imagine, to hear these poems again. William and I were friends for almost 40 years, and when he had his stroke, he was able to come back to speech. It was like Lana Turner or something, watching her old movies. He would take those poems and repeat them and repeat them and repeat them, so that we were able to get on our wagons and go to India and Russia and all over the place, because he was a well-known poet and beloved. My little anecdotes, I don't know whether they can compare, but one notion that was given here is that it's in the rewriting that the writing takes place. So in other words, there were as many as 20 different versions of a single poem that William would put out. And it's in that rewriting that the writing actually occurs. So it's not just inspiration, but perspiration as well, to use these old cliches. Just, I don't know, to try to make it like, we were in India once for the State Department, and William's college classmate was the ambassador or something, so we called him up one winter and said, we'd like to come. He said, fine. And for 3 weeks we traveled all over by elephant, by airplane, by you name it. And we were assigned a classical Indian singer who had lived in Gandhi's house, and he was a crazy guy with a little motorcycle and drove me all around. But there was a festival taking place off of Mumbai on an island there. And it was a festival. We don't have such a festival here, but you know the story of Ganesh. Srivati and Shiva, Parvati, his wife, and Shiva, she was having her bath, and she told her son not to let anybody in, and the husband came in, and he said, what are you talking about? I can't. He said, well, mother says you can't come in, she's having her bath. So he cut the boy's head off. And she was very annoyed at this, and she said, you'll never have sex with me again until you fix this. So we went out and found an elephant and took the elephant's head, and so Ganesh is the famous demi, I'm sure you know the story, but he's like Babe Ruth, and he's like a national, the god of children and education. At any rate, the festival took place in a very ancient uterus-like bowl inside of a cave, and so we got over there, and long steps to go up, so 6 guys put William's chair on a bier and carried us up these stairs. And when we got to the cave, there were police there, and nobody was allowed in, but they saw William, so they let in this distinguished visitor. And we looked around, and when we came out, and the other thing too is that everybody was drinking pong, which is a marijuana-based milk. So this was the festival where husbands and wives get to enjoy each other's company. And so when we came out, thousands of stoned Indians decided that Ganesh had been reincarnated in the form of William Meredith. And I don't know whether because of his big ears or what, but suddenly petals are being thrown in front of us, you know, and the band is struck up, and all these really wonderfully stoned Indians. And I really got worried because we were high on a hill, and I thought, these people are going to push us down the mountain. It was really a very iffy kind of situation. But we made it. And they found an image of Ganesh, and they took him into the water, and so that was, you know, all was well. I'm here with 3 good, really wonderful friends. Scott Price, who's done his master's thesis on William, and Tom Curlin, who is this year's William Meredith awardee for poetry, which includes publication, and Nancy Frankel, who's about to celebrate her 90th birthday, and we just had a wonderful exhibition for Nancy at the American University, so they've all driven up from Washington to be part of this, and they knew and loved William, so I'm very happy to be in their company. I wanted to recognize. Nancy, when William first had his stroke, some well-meaning friends said, well, physical therapy would probably be a good idea to, you know. So we heard about this legendary sculpture teacher at Montgomery College named Nancy Frankel. And we went out and we interviewed with her, and she was remarkable. She was like Isadora Duncan or so. She could really, she had feelers out to here, you know, and she was able to reach William sort of trapped under ice, and was able to help him appreciate the difficulties of sculpting. And it was more than just, you know, negative space and all of that. It was more a question of concepts that he had trouble with this aphasia. So Nancy and he became great friends, and he did some wonderful pieces with her help. And so their friendship really meant a lot, and so Nancy's continued to be a great friend. We were in Portugal one summer, and this is where Hazard the Painter was written. And there's one poem that I'd like to read from that, because I think it's what I'm trying to do in my aging process here. It's called Winter, He Shapes Up. Now autumn has finished scolding with sumac, sun, and jays, his drinking and his balding, his heavy lidded ways. Today the first snow fell. It hung in the hollow air, making space tangible, showing him how things are. He watches the yellow larches guttering on their boles, like half-extinguished torches as the planet tilts and cools. And the laurel understory that shields the hill from harm, the merest rag of glory, will keep ambition warm. Gnawed by a vision of rightness that no one else seems to see, what can a man do but bear witness? And what has he got to tell? Only the shaped things he sees. A few things made by men, a galaxy made well. Though more of each day is dark, though he's awkward at the job, he squeezes paint from a tube. Hazard is back at work. And the first couple of years he didn't really speak or move much, so it took a lot of work to come back. And so he's back at work. So we had a great run. We were all over the place for many years after he was able to come back to language. And he did that largely, I think, through the limbic system, where the music and language are combined or are known. And one of the ways he came back to speech was through music. And, you know, row, row, row your boat. We did a film based on his life, and there's one image where he's singing this children's song, but row, row, row your boat. Meredith, Meredith, life was but a dream. And we all know that the end will come one day, but he would say, not today. Today's not today. So, let's see, one final, I don't want to be late. Oh, we were once traveling with visiting Stuart Udall, who was the secretary, had just been announced to be the Secretary of the Interior to President Kennedy. And Stuart said, what do you think? Do you think the old man would go for it? And we said, yeah, I think he would. So they talked Frost into reading at Kennedy's inauguration, which was that iconic moment in American history for poetry. And I was happy to be there, the three of us. I had a lot of fun. You can imagine, I was doing the graduate work and at Catholic U, and we went to visit W.H. Auden 3 weeks before he died in Kirchstein, and he wasn't allowed to have hard liquor much, but I didn't know that, and I hadn't had any medical training, so Auden and I stayed up quite late in the night drinking brandy. And William went to bed, and I read him my poet Imagine, you know, graduate student reading your poetry for W.H. Great fun. And Chester Coleman, who was Auden's partner, had gone off to Greece to seduce the Greek Navy, apparently, and everybody said to him, Chester, you've got to write a will, and he didn't do that. So when he died, Chester's father inherited all of Auden's estate, all of his letters and so forth, And the father, in his 90s, had a nurse girlfriend in her 50s who was very clever. And so the entire WHI estate went to this woman. And she really played hardball with the New York Public Library to get those papers. I'm rambling on, but it was a very interesting kind of situation. Chester had gone off and left us with TV dinners, you know, the lobster rolls and so forth that you could put into the oven, and so it was pleasant. So he and William and I sat there, and we would put on music, and I listened to these two great poets talk about who was better, whether it was Mozart or, you know, whomever, and it was fun to hear them, and surprising for me too. One comment was made about how, you know, when you meet these people who have achieved such stature and so forth, you can't imagine their being as kind and as gentle as they can be, especially as they get older. When poets age, they seem to, all the rough edges seem to come off, you know. But that wasn't the case here. They sat there and badmouthed who's an A poet, who's a B poet. It was really remarkable to hear them sort of categorize who was who in the poetry world. We were once Cronenbergered. Louis Cronenberg had a sort of a palatial summer home in Canada, and he was having a cocktail party for local. I don't know where these people came from because he was miles from anywhere. And I had a fancy new car at the time, and William and I were camping. We had a little pup tent that we were taking, but we were really in this little Porsche. I mean, we were like 8 hours. Finally got to these people who were having the fancy cocktail party, and we thought we might at least get a shower, you know, but no way. And we were advised to go down the road where there was a camping ground, you know. So that became our little. We got Cronenberg. So we went off, and we parked in a field. It was dark, and we put our little pup tent up. And in the morning, when we woke, there were cows all around us. We had parked in a field, and they looked at us like, what dropped down in our in our field? What are you guys doing here? It was really kind of fun. And a number of these poems came out of those experiences. It was a little bit like living with Mother Teresa, maybe, but really to see the daily acts of courage, you know, that he had when he had these terrible impairment. And, you know, I'm not sure I'd have been able to do it, but he was able to continue to have this spiritual strength and goodwill, and you've all talked about that and felt it. So I'm so grateful for this day. I really am. I feel his presence here. It's not been easy to hear these poems, you can imagine. So that's it. Thank you very much.